Shalom Aleichem Mishpachah. You have Moray Al and
Pastor Nichelle. Shalom.
And we're back again. Shalom, shalom with the His Glory Hamishkan Community YouTube channel. And we're going to continue our teaching on marriage, Yahuwah's way. And I want to give you this up front first. You can write it down or you can go back and replay it. I want you to take down this email address so you can contact us in case someone had a question or a comment about anything.
Or prayer.
Or prayer. Let us know. Amen. Because we're here for everything. We're just here to serve, and we thank Abba for allowing us to serve you because you're his people. So that's what we're doing. And I just give him all the praise, the glory, and the honor. Our email address to send us to this channel is H.G.H.C. YouTube at hisgloryhamishkan.com. Once again, that's H.G.H.C. YouTube at hisgloryhamishkan.com. That way, you'll be able to make a comment or send us an email. Right. We want to know. We want to know what Abba is doing. And if you have a problem in your relationship, you can email us and ask a question and we will talk about that. Amen. Because this is going to get deeper. This is going to get deeper. And in the last program, I said that, we're going to be going through the marriage in a short time, but that short time I didn't put a boundary on it because there's so much that has to be shared about marriage. And when we talked about how in the last program, how people have been married for a while and then they just throw in the towel. Yeah. So there are a lot of things, especially in this Hebraic, if you want to put a title on it, the Hebraic, Messianic, Torah keepers, there are a lot of issues in marriage in these environments. Right. And we want to be used of Yahuwah Zavaot to give you an understanding on this is what he meant by his marriage. Just don't give up. Fight. As I said in the last program, fight for it. You know what? The enemy's coming to kill, to steal, and to destroy. Are you going to just lay back and let him run a ropshot over you, over your marriage? Everything that you invested in, that Abba said, I ordained this, and you let the enemy come and you're not going to fight for it? Gehenna will freeze over before I let him run ropshot here up in my house. That's right. Because after 30 years, Pastor Nichelle and I, we're going on 30 years. I'm like, what? You got to start all over again? I'm not getting any younger. So
ain't nobody got time.
Well, no, yeah, that's what one of my children said. Ain't nobody got time for that. So, and I know they watch, so they're going to be calling us or texting us like, "Well, how are you talking about?" Because that's what we do. Yes. Pastor Nichelle and I here at His Glory Hamishkan. If you watch our Shabbat services every Shabbat at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central. We like to have fun in Yah. Abba is not stiff and stoic and stuffy. Yeah. Let's be real. I know a lot of big shots that come on TV or whatever. You can't really talk with them because they're so far away. We were with them. Okay, I'll just let you know that. We were with them. Back in the 90s, we were with all the big shots out there. I'm not going to mention their names, but a lot of them are still there. And we were with them, but I've come to the understanding and the realization that I wasn't starstruck over people. I just wanted to get closer to the Father. And before I came into the Hebraic understanding, I was close to him in the biblical understanding. But when he took me out and he told me to go back and find out about him the way he intended it to be, I said, well, I can't maintain in that environment because it's all about who's the biggest, who's the baddest, and how many people you running over there, Doc? And I'm like, it's not about that. It's about my relationship. And Ephesians 4:11 and 12 to equip the saints to do the work of the ministry. So if the enemy is tearing up your marriage, if you're married, then you can't concentrate on doing the work because you're trying to fight each other and you're supposed to be walking in the same path. Now, that doesn't mean that someone who's not married can't watch this because they're the ones we really want to engage also. So when they do say, I do, and they write their marriage ketubah, then they have a foundation to go on and say, well, this is what my Father's word says. Oh, I know why. I understand the purpose of her.
Right.
And she understands the purpose of him. But if you don't understand a purpose, you could use a microphone to hammer a nail, and you've just destroyed that microphone, the handheld kind, because you misused it because you didn't understand the purpose.
Right.
A hammer is to be used to hammer a nail. A microphone is to speak into and amplify your voice across the auditorium. Amen. So with that, we're still continuing in Bereshit, or in the English, Genesis. We're in chapter 2, and we're still in verse 18. And I want Pastor Nichelle to talk about where I left off at in the last service. And just to refresh you, it's chapter 2, verse 18. And Yahuwah Elohim said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him. And I want her to break this down for you about what that is.
Okay.
Amen.
So we have two Hebrew words for helpmeet. We have Ezer, which is the word for help, and Kenegdo. Let me get my notes out. The Ezer is a helper, and a helper is not. We talked about in the last program. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go to his job with him and help him on his job, because I said, you really don't want me to do that. I can probably
and I'm in the security background
Yeah.
for information technology,
And I'm
so
a
we don't
security
want
risk.
any breaches.
So, well, you know what? Let me go here. Let me talk about communication styles in marriage, and maybe that will help us get a better picture of the helper dynamic. So, you in a communication in a marriage, you sometimes have one partner who is a talker. They talk more than they listen. And then maybe the other partner is a listener. They listen more than they talk. Sometimes you can have a combination of that. You might have a relationship where you've got two talkers. Or you've got a relationship where you've got two listeners. Well, here's where that dynamic works out. In a relationship where you've got one who talks more than they listen, the person who talks more is in a constant battle to make sure that they're heard, make sure that they're understood. But the listener, the one who listens more than they talk, sometimes in order to get them to talk, they need to make sure that the environment is safe. And so, we know some couples who every time they have an argument, they've got a hot button. And so for some couples, every time there's an argument, they're bringing up something from the past.
Wow.
Or they're threatening divorce, or they're, whatever the hot button is. God. You need to identify what the hot button is in your relationship, because the person who listens more than they talk, typically that type of person, you know how 1 Corinthians 13 talks about not keeping record of wrong? This is the record keeper. This is the one who is saying, you said that to me last time. Or they're waiting for things. They're just taking in and taking in and taking in. And then one day that person finally says, you know what? I've had enough. I'm out of here. And the person who has been more of a talker than a listener is completely baffled. Why? Because they've been communicating. They've been saying what they want. They've been saying what they need. But the person who has been listening has not felt safe enough to communicate their needs. And so something needs that helper mentality. You may need to help your spouse to have a safe place to communicate.
This is good. Listen.
You might need to help your spouse listen more. And sometimes maybe you've got to say it differently. Sometimes you've got to change your words, change your rhetoric, because maybe the words that you're using might mean something different from your spouse than what you are intending.
Right.
We all have baggage. We all came with a background. Maybe you had a father who spoke to your mother in a certain way. And so when you're in that situation with your spouse, you're thinking, oh, they're acting like my father. This is not a safe place. Let me just withdraw. In a marriage, you got to have a common ground where both partners are safe. A safe place. One partner is not fearful of that hot button that's going to get pushed at any moment. The other partner is not fearful that the person who talks more than they listen is going to constantly cut them off and devalue what they have to say. So, when we first get married, we're these people. I'm way over here and he's way over here. But we've got to learn how to grow together.
Amen.
And so our communication skills need to grow so that the talker learns to back off and listen to more, so that the listener learns to speak up, because no one can read your mind. So you got to have that balance there. And so in that biblical function of marriage, the wife's role is to but to create an environment where the husband is hearing from Yah and being able to walk out Yah's plan for them. I think about, we were talking about earlier about Rebecca. Jacob either wanted to ignore or forgot that, Isaac either wanted to ignore or forgot that the blessing was supposed to go to Jacob. And so what did Rebecca do? She arranged a situation.
Fixed it up.
So that the blessing went to the right person. On contrary, Abraham and Sarah. Sarah wanted to get around what Yah had said because she didn't believe. And so, let me just fix it. And here, you take Hagar. So she did not help Abraham continue to hold out, continue to wait. Sometimes when you're in a tough situation, marriage is a teapot. It's hot water, and you've got a lot of pressure. And so sometimes your spouse may forget what Yah has said, or your spouse may be struggling with their faith. That is that role of that Ezer Kenegdo, to make sure that when he's down, that I'm repeating to him, but didn't Yah say? Or when I'm down, that he's telling me.
It's a balance.
Yah has said, and if he said it, he's going to do it.
It's a balance, because it's not that you're flying solo here.
Right.
You have become one flesh.
Yes.
So you're depending on your other part of your flesh that has come together to form Echad. And you always hear us saying that Echad is so important. Yahushua, the Son of the Most High, said, I and my Father are Echad. So if he said it, then we repeat what he says, because he was the prime example. He was the illustrator of what we're supposed to be.
Exactly.
So if he's one with the Father, then we're one in him. So that three-bonded cord is not easily broken, unless you break it. Amen. So that's what that's about. Continue a little bit before we run out of a little more.
So that dynamic of one of the things that when we were studying about Ezer Kenegdo is that for everything that Yah created, there's an opposite. If he talked about the children of Israel, that there was one mountain for blessing and one mountain for cursing. And so in the marriage relationship, I can either be for him to help him out, or I can be his worst nightmare.
See that?
Because that dynamic that Yah wants, he wants balance. And so you have a little pushing, you have a little pulling. And so you got to learn where that middle ground is.
Amen. Well, we've run out of time already again, but we want you to be blessed in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach until we come back again next week.
Shalom.
Shalom.